for now for a better swing trade. Back up to hopefully go and test the 50 EMAs and 200 EMAs of kind of the key time frames daily and weekly, and kind of that bearish retrace to then obviously short again into the bear market, which is generally the consensus. But one thing as well that everyone can see that's being touted on all over X and all these other Twitter people or whatever saying X, super cycle, liquidity next year, all that type of stuff. Yes, it's good, but and yes, it may help. But the issue here is that the Fed are only putting 250 billion back into the market by June. Basically 40 billion pound a month for the next few months. I don't know who said, someone did say, I don't know, in trade, I think it was Goldie, Goldovelli. He was saying last night in thing, which I commented on, the Fed took 2 trillion out over 2 years, and they're only putting 250 billion back in over 6 months. So it's a trickle compared to what they've actually reduced out of their balance sheet and all those type of things, kind of their measures for quantitative tightening. So yes, the taps are slightly on, but it's kind of a drip feed at this point. I think, and a lot are kind of waiting for Fed Chair Powell to go, because as soon as that happens, that's when kind of the floodgates will open. You'll see kind of there'll be enough agreements between all the Fed members, I think, after that we'll start getting like 50, 100 basis point cuts. You'll see them like ridiculously like start cutting, and will change policy drastically. But that aligns with a bear market, right? June to October next year is when we should be finding our bear market lows. So a year, October high, clockwork. Everyone says the 4 hour things, 4 year cycle's broken, and yeah, a year from the top, June to October next year, give or take, is kind of where we find the bottom usually, or kind of a year after the high, 9 months to a year. So they're saying the cycle's broken, there's going to be liquidity injections, but the problem is for me that 250 billion is going to do absolutely nothing, in my opinion. It will just keep the market going sideways or on a trickle down, specifically crypto. Yeah, kind of indices and all that shit, NASDAQ, all of that, they'll go up, but our beloved crypto will carry on going sideways and down, which is kind of a bit crazy in the sense that obviously, yes, it's Bitcoin and all that's further down the risk curve, and also less accessible generally, and less kind of legal protections generally for US and kind of investors. So that's kind of why crypto as well sometimes kind of the last thing they look at, last vehicle they'll look at to invest in, kind of as part of a diverse portfolio. So yeah, I think the Nasdaq and S&P will creep, will probably kind of continue making higher highs, but I think Bitcoin will either just kind of range or just kind of creep down into the bear market. So for now, after that little kind of blurt just about kind of the liquidity injection, yes, it's going to help, but kind of in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. So just bear that in mind. And when you're watching stuff from people on X or Twitter or YouTube saying, oh, liquidity injection, we're going back to 200k or whatever it is, please, guys, seriously, just watch out for kind of those wolves, because they're not looking after their audiences in kind of, to put it plain, right? And luckily now, kind of myself, Frankie, other kind of decent creators who actually we see the forest for the trees, right? And that's the thing. These people aren't. They're just thinking liquidity injection, moonboy, and all that type of stuff. But also, that being said, we traders as well, right? So just bear in mind, or kind of specifically within this group, we are going to start kind of putting DCAs into place for kind of as price moves down, and kind of I'll show you what I'm doing specifically with that. But bar that, kind of we trade the market up and down. We don't kind of get one side biased, being a moonboy, thinking Bitcoin's going to 200k by the end of the year when there's basically no chance of that happening. And now all the revisions as well. This is kind of just how revisions on these banks and all these kind of these institutions say, oh, Bitcoin was going to 250k by the end of this year. They've now revised it to like 150 by the end of next year. It's like, what the fuck? Like, seriously, you know? So anyway, okay, rant over, story time over. But yeah, kind of, for my part, my bias